Hello, I'm Jacob. I am from England, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about my story. I was fortunate to grow up in a Christian family, and I actually grew up with my grandma and my granddad, who showed me the way to Jesus at a young age, but I pushed that away. And at 14, I fell into some extremely bad areas. At 14, I started taking ecstasy tablets, and that lasted until I was about 20. But in the midst of all that, a lot of bad things happened. So it wasn't just ecstasy, it was cocaine and various other cocktail of drugs that really gripped my life. At 16, I started selling these drugs in different clubs around England, and by 18, I'd quit my job completely and started living off the money that was coming in from the drugs. And I was living a life of complete sexual immorality, but I didn't know any different. I was abusive to my family, I was abusive to girls, I would fight, I was violent. I was definitely what you'd call a nasty individual. At 19, I got a wonderful opportunity. Well, it seemed wonderful at the time, but maybe not so much now I look back. An opportunity to go to Russia as a junior stockbroker. So I went to Russia, and as you can imagine, as somebody who has grown up addicted to drugs, addicted to pornography, addicted to that way of lifestyle, that Russia really, when you gave, we have a saying in England that says if you give a monkey a gun, you're going to have problems. And that's exactly what it was with me, because I was given a lot of money at a young age, and I was put in a big, huge sea, which is Moscow. So you can imagine that was a bit of a car crash for my life. So Russia was crazy. I got in loads of problems. I used to black out regularly when I was drinking, and I'd fight with doormen. I used to, again, abuse women. That's the type of life I lived. And what I noticed is that if you give me more money, I would have more problems because I've got more things to do with the money. And really, I needed to change inside. And I did want to change by myself, actually. There came a period where I thought I need to become different because I just don't like myself and who I am. But I tried to do that, and that didn't work. I went on flash holidays, I tried to give people money and be nice like that, but something wasn't fitting in my life. And finally, I let my pride slip aside, and I said, "Grandad, you know that Jesus guy you were talking about?" And he said, "Yes. And by the way, this is my 4th year into Russia." And he said, "Yes." I said, what do I do? Like, what do I do? How do I get him? And he said, "Just seek sincerely from your heart." And the same night he said that to me, I laid on my bed while my girlfriend was next to me, and I had tears running down my face. But it wasn't tears in knowing that there was a God, it was tears that knowing my life was a wreck, and I have everything that the world told me I had, and I was still a wreck. So I reached out and I said, "You know, Jesus, if you're real, you can take control of my life." When I woke up differently. Now, if you'd have asked me back then, I'd have just said, I don't know what's changed, but something's changed. And over the subsequent months to that, something was churning inside me. I had a desire. I started watching preachers. I plugged into a church. I started to kind of do that with my hand in worship because I thought that's what everyone did. But I was still a bit uneasy. Anyway, I actually left Russia and went back to England, and it was quite miraculous how that happened, because I was in the car on the way back to Leeds Bradford Airport, my flight booked, my girlfriend waiting with my dog. Actually, she was making my tea that day. Everything was set up for me in Russia. Remembering I went when I was 19, and this is 3 years ago, so I grew up as an adult there. And as I was going back in the car, she called me for an argument. Well, I always say one of our hourly arguments, and I put the phone down, probably not the best Christian thing to do, but I put the phone down and I said, "Grandad, turn the car around." And that's the day I completely left Russia. 2 days later, I went to church and I was screaming out in my spirit, "God, if you are real, which I now believe you are, you need to show me." As I was doing that, someone stood up at the front of church and said, "Somebody in here is questioning God." And the skin, you know, the hairs on the skin all went up. And I went up at the end of church and I said, that was about me. And that same woman said, "Would you like me to pray for you?" And right there and then I received Jesus into my heart, and I was born again. And it completely, radically changed my life. I just desired to see Jesus move in every single part of my life, and I didn't feel that I could keep that working in an industry that's centered around selling stocks and shares for discount prices. So a year and 2 months ago, I came back to England and I plugged into my local church there. And since then, I've seen the miraculous happen. I've been blessed enough to see people get out of wheelchairs, to see demons screech at the name of Jesus, to see the blind see. I've got to really live like Jesus lived, and the transformation in my life could have come from no other source but Jesus, because I was selfish. I didn't care about anything. I didn't care about myself. All I cared about was money and partying and having fun. And now I'm clean. I don't do anything like that, and I have the most joy that I could ever ask for.